Hello everyone. Today I want to share with you an absolutely incredible story that happened to an ordinary working man in London. This is a tale about an unexpected discovery that changed his life forever. Sometimes the most amazing things happen when you least expect them. So sit back, relax, and let me tell you about the day when a simple walk along the Thames turned into something truly extraordinary. His name was Michael. He was 42 years old, a construction worker who spent most of his days on building sites across London. Tired hands, worn boots, and a modest salary that barely covered rent and bills. Michael lived in a small flat in East London with his 8-year-old son, Danny. Life wasn't easy after his divorce 3 years ago. He worked hard, came home exhausted, cooked dinner for Danny, helped with homework, and fell asleep dreaming of a better life. But dreams don't pay the bills, and Michael knew that all too well. It was a Saturday morning in late September. The autumn sun was trying to break through the grey London clouds, and Michael had promised Danny they would spend the day together. No work, no distractions, just father and son time. Danny had been asking to go to the Thames for weeks. He loved the river, loved watching the boats pass by, loved collecting interesting stones and bits of old pottery that sometimes washed up on the shore. They took the underground to Tower Hill and walked down to the riverside near Tower Bridge. The iconic structure stood majestically against the grey sky, tourists snapping photos as always. But Michael and Danny weren't interested in the tourist spots. They walked further along the embankment, away from the crowds, towards a quieter stretch of the river where locals sometimes walked their dogs or jogged in the early morning. As they walked, Michael noticed something unusual. The tide was particularly low that day, much lower than he had seen before. Large sections of the muddy foreshore were exposed, revealing rocks, old bricks, rusted metal pieces, and all sorts of debris that normally lay hidden beneath the Thames water. Danny was excited, immediately running down the stone steps that led to the exposed riverbank. Michael followed his son carefully. The mud was thick and slippery, and he didn't want either of them to fall. The smell of river mud filled his nostrils, that distinctive Thames scent of silt and history mixed together. Danny was already crouching down, examining something that caught his eye. Michael smiled, watching his son's curiosity. For a moment, he forgot about unpaid bills and job stress. This was what mattered, these simple moments with his boy. They walked along the muddy shore for about 20 minutes, Danny collecting smooth stones and pieces of old clay pipes. Michael had read somewhere that the Thames foreshore was full of historical artifacts. People had been throwing things into this river for 2,000 years. Roman coins, medieval pottery, Victorian bottles. All of it lay buried in the mud, waiting to be discovered. But Michael wasn't looking for anything in particular. He was just enjoying the walk, the fresh air, the sound of the river lapping against the shore. Then he saw it. Partially buried in the mud, about 10 meters ahead, something caught the light. It was brown, rounded, sticking up out of the sludge at an odd angle. At first, Michael thought it might be just another broken bottle or a chunk of old pottery. But something made him walk closer. Maybe it was intuition. Maybe it was luck. Maybe it was fate. He crouched down next to the object and carefully brushed away some of the wet mud. It was definitely pottery. Old pottery by the look of it. The surface was rough, covered in grime and algae, but the shape was intact. It looked like some kind of jug or container, with a narrow neck and a rounded body. Michael's heart began to beat a little faster. He had no idea why, but something told him this was different. Danny came running over, excited to see what his dad had found. Together, they carefully worked to free the object from the mud. It was stuck pretty firmly, and Michael had to rock it gently back and forth to loosen it. Finally, with a wet, sucking sound, the jug came free. It was heavier than Michael expected, much heavier. He lifted it carefully, mud and water dripping from its sides. The jug was about 30 centimeters tall, with a handle on one side and a cork or stopper wedged tightly into the narrow opening at the top. Michael's hands were shaking slightly as he tried to wipe away some of the mud to get a better look. The pottery was clearly very old, possibly centuries old. He could see faint markings or patterns on the surface beneath the grime. Danny was bouncing with excitement. "Dad, what is it? Is it treasure?" he asked, his eyes wide. Michael laughed, though his own pulse was racing. "I don't know, buddy. Let's see." He tried to pull the stopper out, but it was wedged in tightly, sealed by time and river mud. He didn't want to force it and risk breaking the jug. "We'll open it at home," he told Danny. "Let's get back." The walk back to the underground station felt longer than usual. Michael carried the jug carefully, wrapped in his jacket. His mind was racing. What could be inside? Probably nothing. Probably just more mud. But what if it was something? What if this was one of those incredible stories you hear about on the news? Ordinary person finds historical treasure. He tried not to get his hopes up, but the weight of the jug, the way it felt in his hands, something about it felt significant. Back at their small flat, Michael set the jug carefully on the kitchen table. Danny hovered nearby, practically vibrating with anticipation. Michael found a butter knife and carefully worked at the stopper, trying to loosen it without damaging the jug itself. After several minutes of careful prying, the stopper suddenly popped free with a soft sound. A musty smell wafted out, the scent of age and sealed darkness. Michael tilted the jug carefully and peered inside. At first, he couldn't see anything in the dim interior. Then, he tilted it toward the kitchen light, and his breath caught in his throat. Inside, packed tightly together, were coins. Not just any coins, they glinted gold in the light. His hands started shaking. "Danny, go to your room for a minute, okay?" he said quietly. His son protested, but something in Michael's voice made him obey. Alone in the kitchen, Michael carefully tipped the jug and let the contents spill out onto the table. Coin after coin tumbled out, clinking against each other with that distinctive metallic sound. Gold coins. Real gold coins. He counted them with trembling fingers. 63 coins in total. Each one showed a crowned head on one side and a coat of arms on the other. The inscriptions were in Latin. Michael was no expert, but these looked old. Very old. Possibly Tudor or Stuart period. Maybe even older. 400 years old? 500? His mind was reeling. This was a fortune, an actual treasure. But then reality set in cold and hard. By law, any treasure found in England had to be reported to the authorities. The Treasure Act, he had read about it once. Finds like this were supposed to go to museums. The finder might get a reward, but it would be assessed by experts, valued, and the money split between the finder and the landowner. The Port of London Authority owned the Thames foreshore. They would claim a share. The coins would be tied up in legal processes for months, maybe years. And Michael would have to prove where he found them, answer questions, fill out forms. He looked around his tiny kitchen. The peeling paint on the walls, the fridge that barely worked, the stack of unpaid bills on the counter. Danny's worn shoes by the door that he had outgrown months ago, but Michael couldn't afford to replace yet. His savings account with barely £200 in it. The credit card debt that kept growing, no matter how hard he tried to pay it down. Michael sat at the table for a long time, staring at the gold coins spread before him. He knew what he should do. He knew what the law said. But he also knew what his life looked like, what his son's life looked like. This gold represented a way out, a chance, security, a future. Over the next few days, Michael did research. He learned that the coins were likely from the reign of Charles I, minted sometime in the 1630s. Each coin was called a unite, worth 20 shillings in its day. To a collector, to the right buyer, these could be worth anywhere from £1,000 to £3,000 each, maybe more if they were rare dates or in good condition. He was potentially sitting on £150,000 or more. But selling them legally was impossible without reporting the find first. The authorities would seize them immediately. Museums would acquire them. He might eventually receive some compensation, but it would be a fraction of their real value, and it could take years. Michael made a decision. He would stay quiet. He would find another way to sell them. It wasn't easy finding buyers for illegal treasure. Michael knew he was entering dangerous territory. He started carefully, asking vague questions in online forums about coin collecting, feeling out the community. He learned that there was indeed a black market for undeclared finds, collectors who didn't ask questions, dealers who operated in the shadows. Through a contact he made online, Michael was put in touch with a man named Thomas. They met in a pub in South London. Thomas was in his 60s, well-dressed, spoke with a refined accent. He examined 3 of the coins that Michael had brought as samples, using a jeweler's loupe and a small electronic scale. His face remained neutral, but Michael could see the gleam of interest in his eyes. "These are genuine," Thomas said quietly. 1635, Charles I, Tower Mint. Good condition considering where they've been. I can offer you £1,200 per coin. Cash. No paperwork. No questions. Michael's heart hammered. That was less than their potential full value, but it was real money. Money he could actually have. "I have 60 more," he said. Thomas raised an eyebrow. 60? You found 63 Charles I unites in the Thames? Michael nodded. Thomas leaned back, thinking. "I'll take the lot. £75,000. That's my final offer. It's below market value, but it reflects the risk I'm taking. These coins are hot. If the authorities ever trace them, I'd lose everything." Michael thought about it. £75,000. It wasn't the full value, but it was life-changing money. He could pay off all his debts. He could move to a better flat. He could buy Danny everything he needed. He could put money aside for university. He could. Finally breathe. "Deal," he said. The exchange happened 2 weeks later in a car park near Heathrow Airport. Michael brought all 63 coins in a small leather bag. Thomas arrived with a briefcase. They met in Thomas's car, a sleek black Mercedes. Thomas examined every coin carefully, taking his time. Finally, satisfied, he opened the briefcase. Inside were stacks of £50 notes, neatly bundled. £75,000 in cash. Michael's hands shook as he took the briefcase. It felt surreal, like something from a movie. Thomas gave him one piece of advice. Spend it slowly. Don't attract attention. No flashy cars, no sudden expensive purchases. Be smart. Michael nodded. He understood. This money didn't exist officially. He had to be careful. And he was careful. Over the following months, Michael made gradual changes. He told his employer he had received an inheritance from a distant aunt. He moved Danny and himself to a nicer 2-bedroom flat in a better neighborhood. Nothing too fancy, just a significant improvement from where they had been. He bought Danny new clothes, new shoes, a proper computer for schoolwork. He paid off his credit card debt and his overdraft. He put £30,000 into a savings account for Danny's future education. For the first time in years, Michael didn't wake up at night worrying about money. He could afford to take Danny to the cinema, to restaurants, on a weekend trip to Brighton. He could fix the car when it broke down instead of ignoring the warning lights. He could buy proper food instead of the cheapest options. Life became easier, lighter, less desperate. Michael never told anyone the true story of the coins. Not his friends, not his family, not even Danny when he grew older. The jug itself he cleaned carefully and kept on a shelf in his flat as a reminder. To anyone who asked, it was just an interesting bit of old pottery he found by the river. The secret of what had been inside remained locked away. Sometimes, late at night, Michael wondered if he had done the right thing. He had broken the law. Those coins belonged to history, to museums, to the public. But then he would look at Danny, happy and thriving, doing well in school, no longer wearing shoes with holes in them. He would think about the stress and fear that had lifted from his life, and he would make peace with his decision. The Thames had given him a gift, not just gold coins, but a chance. A chance to give his son a better life, a chance to escape the crushing weight of poverty and debt. Whether it was right or wrong, it was done. And Michael lived with that choice, carrying the secret like he had once carried that heavy jug through the streets of London. Years passed. Danny grew up, went to university, made something of himself. Michael eventually retired from construction work with enough money saved to live comfortably. The coins were long gone, scattered into private collections around the world, their origin forever unknown. And the Thames continued to flow, keeping its secrets, hiding thousands more treasures in its ancient mud, waiting for the next person to find them. That's the story. An ordinary man, an extraordinary find, and a choice that changed everything. Sometimes life gives you an unexpected opportunity, and you have to decide what to do with it. Michael made his choice. Whether you agree with it or not, I'll leave that up to you. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this story, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel for more incredible tales of unexpected discoveries and life-changing moments. Leave a comment below and tell me what you would have done in Michael's situation. Would you have reported the coins, or would you have taken the same path he did? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Until next time, take care and remember, sometimes the most amazing things are found in the most unexpected places.